The next topic that I would like to talk about is evaluative recordations.
Okay.
So what is an evaluative recordation? Basically, it's any type of review of your performance that a manager does during the course of the year. Now, you cannot file a grievance over an individual evaluative recordation, okay? However, you do have the right to rebut individual evaluative recordations, which is really important. Again, when the case comes to me for consideration, and probably I'm guessing that the stewards feel the same way, if someone's been charged with errors and the employee has not rebutted the error when it happens, then it's going to be difficult at the end of the year for us to build a whole case rebutting all of these errors that are in the file if the employee has not already documented it. And that's for several reasons. One, you're not allowed to keep taxpayer information around, so it may not be fresh anymore in your mind as to why you disagree with the assessment or the evaluative recordation that management issued, right?
Right.
Yeah. And also, you may not remember why you did what you did.
And that's the thing that I think that's the biggest thing for me, is to do it when it's fresh on your mind, because it's nothing like trying to go back days or months later and you've really forgotten the reason why you may disagree with something. But the more time you let go by, I would say the less effective it may be, because right there in the moment when you're passionate about it,
oh yeah, they did what?
Yes, is the best time to write and document. And I probably would talk about this to you 50 million times about how important it is to document.
Yeah. And Tanya, did you know that employees are entitled to a reasonable amount of administrative time to rebut evaluative recordations that they don't agree with?
Yes, and how important is that and beneficial? And not only just that, Janice, how much time can they use?
They're entitled to a reasonable amount of time, okay? A reasonable amount of time. And also, management has to give them that time within 3 days of when they make the request. So don't let your manager put you off and off and off, because, again, if you do it contemporaneously, it's going to be a lot more effective.
And listen, Janice, I know they may be saying, listen, I have enough work if it is, right? But take control of your own situation and don't leave it up to someone else. So if it's something that you don't agree with, stop, request the time, and write it.
I agree with that, Tanja. This is all about employees taking control of their evaluations. Your evaluations affect so much. What kind of training you get, what kind of promotions you're going to qualify for, whether or not you're going to get a performance award or not. So, I mean, not that management does not benefit from doing a good job of evaluating employees, but truthfully, it's going to affect the employee a lot more than it affects their manager, how well the evaluation is done.
And the truth is that sometimes human error. And you just have to make sure that the error doesn't fall and affect you.
Yeah.
So if it does, go ahead, take the time. The time is given, is there for you. Request the time, take it, use it, and put it in black and white. So Janice, let's talk about evaluative recordations now.
Evaluative recordations, very important topic. Well, so let's first start with what is an evaluative recordation. Okay, so it's any kind of performance feedback that management provides to an employee during the course of the performance year, right?
Right.
And it should be in writing, because if it's not in writing,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. You heard it here first, right? No, you didn't hear first, because you always hear that as an IRS employee.
That
right?
is correct.
I mean, that's
correct.
Just the mantra.
I mean, maybe one of the first things that I learned when I walked through the door.
Absolutely. So, so evaluative recordations are supposed to be given to employees within 15 work days of the time the supervisor became aware or should have become aware of the event that it addresses.
So, Janice, I have a question. So we have CCIs.
What's a CCI?
It's like case consultations.
Okay.
We meet with our manager once a month with cases that they want to talk about. Usually those cases may be something that may have been on a report or cause some type of alarm, maybe statute issue, or something is flagging that there is some sort of issue there. Overage case, potential overage case, or something. Now they use currency of inventory if it's something that's on there. So this is a case that they may want to talk about during consultations. During consultations, let's say if I bring something up to my manager, or I make my manager aware of a situation or something that's going on with this case, and or an issue that I'm having.
Okay.
And I make my manager aware during consultations during that time, but 3 months later it's time for my mid-year or it's time for my annual. This case is pulled for review, and I am actually gigged for something that I identified in CCIs. How does this article come along with this 15 days
right.
of the manager being aware?
In my opinion, if the employee has made management aware of a performance incident, and management has not conducted the evaluative recordation within 15 days of that, then they should not be using it.
Okay. And that's why I wanted to bring this out, because sometimes, and this kind of go hand in hand about what we were talking about before, that sometimes on mid-years and at annuals, targeted reviews happen, and they happen on these cases that we may have issues with.
Right.
9 times out of 10, that case, if it's a case with an issue, it has been discussed during consultations. So I always kind of wondered that, and I'm glad you were here to talk about that what happens if this comes up and is used after this 15-day time.
Yeah, you can ask management to get rid of it, and if they won't get rid of the evaluative recordation, when it comes time for your annual review, if it's negatively impacting your evaluation, definitely come to the union and we can ask to have that removed. And if we can't, with a nice conversation, get it removed, we can file a grievance on your behalf.
That is correct.
Another thing is, and this comes up a lot for call site employees, is these telephone calls, right? Because you don't have a case file to necessarily show all of the things that have been occurring on an ongoing basis, but what management does is they pick telephone calls to review. Well, according to our contract, management is supposed to conduct or to take a screenshot of any other calls that were reviewed by the manager but not evaluated on any day that the manager finds fault with a recorded call. So what is the purpose of that? Again, and you brought it up, and I appreciate you bringing it up, it's targeted reviews. If my manager has listened to several calls and they only review this one call, and the one call that they reviewed, you can see this call is really long and the other calls are really short, that goes to proving that there was something that was not quite right about the sample of work that was relied upon. So as an employee, if you have an issue with a review of a recorded contact, you should make your manager aware as soon as possible, because they have to save that call, they have to provide you with the screenshot, and they have to retain all of that documentation until the issue is resolved. Meaning they have to give you all the way through the end of the performance cycle and an opportunity to file a grievance over before they get rid of it. If they get rid of it before the end of the performance cycle, they got to throw it out and they can't use it in your evaluation.
That's very good to know, especially for those customer service reps.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things that go on with customer service employees and their performance appraisals.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And if I will say this, members, please, if nothing else, you stick your tab in your contract, you highlight the Article 12. Make yourself familiar with Article 12. You may have to continuously look at it, but that's one of those articles that I would say to keep your tab there. keep you some highlights there so that you can always go back to it.
Yeah, frankly, I mean, I've been doing this job for a long time. I won't say how long, but I've been doing it a long time. And I myself have to go back and back and back to make sure that I am current on what's in the contract and that I'm reading it properly, and that with the cases that come before me, that I'm applying all of the appropriate provisions to the contract.